Welcome back to Rails, Tales, and Trails. I am John, and today we're going to be talking about one of my all-time asked questions, and that is, should you work for the railroad? Now, this is a question I get asked a lot. It's 2024, and so we're going to do an update video. So here we go. So one of the first things you need to consider before applying to the railroad and whether or not you should work for the railroad is that it is a huge lifestyle change. And there's certain things you need to consider before taking on the application process and taking on the job. Because if you don't, plain and simple, you're going to be disappointed, you're going to be disgruntled, and then you're just going to feel like you wasted your time. So first thing you got to ask yourself is, do you have the time commitment for this? If you're looking for a 9-to-5 job, chances are this is not going to be the place for you. Also, are you a single parent? Do you have kids or a bunch of animals, things of that nature? You need to consider that with the railroad, there's a high chance travel is going to be part of that job. That's a consideration you need to ask. Also, how long do you want to work for the railroad? That is another big one, because if you're looking for a short-time job, by the time you get hired and go through training, you invested all this time, you haven't had a chance to rack up any seniority, chances are you're going to not get the most out of it if that's the route you're going. If you want to work for the railroad, you probably need to shoot for retirement, and that is a big consideration for the lifestyle change. Also, just about every job in the railroad is a hardworking job and involves some sort of manual labor or time away from home. So if you're not a hard worker or have a work ethic, not only are you not going to find this very satisfying, but you're going to put a burden on everybody else you work with as well. So, and the last thing to consider for the lifestyle change is it's going to become a huge part of your everyday life. Checking boards, getting moved around, getting bumped around, maybe furloughs. On top of that, you're going to constantly be on call until you get the seniority. And there's constant union and company politics, and the company landscape and their mission is constantly changing. All right, so for the pros, for me, number one up on the list is the healthcare and retirement. We have tier 1, tier 2 retirement, which means my spouse, when she's 66, gets a retirement. I get one at 66. So that works out really well for us. And the healthcare is pretty daggum good. I don't have any real complaints with it. Number two on the pro side, and again, this is me speaking specifically as BNSF, the option for some of these boards to have rest cycles, which I personally find nice. And quite frankly, whenever want some of that downtime of just kind of taking it easy, I can go to a 6-3 board, which means I'm going to be on call for six days, and then I'm going to have 3 days off. That's nice. It helps us plan and be able to do more things. Personally, I like it. I know a lot of people out there hate them, but having that option out there, I think, is a pro in this deal. Third point is the pay. The pay, even with the rest cycles, is still better than the vast majority of jobs out there. And there are still different boards when you have the seniority to make even more money. So the pay is definitely a pro on my list. So this one, listen, we're just going to leave the debates out of it, but this is an essential job. Railroading and transporting freight by rail is not going anywhere. So the railroad industry being here and not going out of business is pretty much a surefire thing. And that to me means job security. We'll leave the other politics and topics out of it for this video. I like that. My last point here, and I know a lot of people may disagree with me on this, I don't care, but it is a union protected job. The reason I put that down as a pro is because with the current landscape and previous landscape since the history of railroading, if it wasn't for the unions, plain and simple, we'd probably be doing this for minimum wage. astronomical health care and little to no retirement. So quite frankly, I like having the union there. They help ensure we still have jobs and, we get the most out of it. So let's move on to the con side of things. Number one, and this is my definitive number one con to working at the railroad, especially if you're in TY&E service, is that it is a dangerous job. And not just TY&E, like the conductors and engineers, but track workers, welders, so many union protected craft jobs out here. They are dangerous. You're working around trains, heavy machinery, heavy equipment, heavy tools, you name it. There's a lot of things out here that can absolutely kill you deader than shit in a blink of an eye. And that is a very large consideration if you're thinking about joining the railroad. Number two on the con list, it is a very large time investment to learn. Guys, there's no way around this, especially if you've never worked in the railroad industry before, because you're coming into a new job, you're going to be put through training, and then after training, you're going to have to gain experience. And the only way you're going to gain experience is out there doing the job you just went through training for. Everything out here can pretty much kill you. That's no joke. I'm not saying that to try to scare anyone. I am dead serious on it, and that's just the way it is. So if you're not comfortable working in possibly high stress environments with large equipment, things like that, then this is probably not going to be the place for you. Number three on my list is time away from home. This is one of those that it's just part of being a railroader. Just about every craft out there means you're going to answer the call and you're going to go away from home for X amount of time, and you may end up staying in a hotel. Just about everyone I know that is not management is required to stay in a hotel for some part of their career or their job while they're out here. That's just one thing to consider. Is what it is, guys. Next thing is you will most likely be on call, especially as a junior man or woman, as a conductor or whatever. You're going to have your phone on you just about all the time when you're available on the boards, because when the railroad calls, they expect you to answer and show up. That's something you're going to need to consider. It gets annoying, but is what it is. Next thing is those special days that have names. BNSF likes to call them high impact days, but pretty much anything that has a name or importance to it is either going to cost you a ton of points or you're just flat out going to miss them. And it seems like a lot of people are showing up wanting to work for the railroad expecting to have the holidays off, weekends off, and that's just not the case. And I don't think it's ever been the case, and that's just the way it is. And you're going to have to get used to missing those because that's just the job. My last point on here is the union and company politics. This is a brand new one. This one will, and by brand new one, I haven't had it on the list before, but you're going to have to get used to union and company politics. It is constant back and forth, and it's something you're just going to have to get used to being around. So, with all that said, take it all into consideration. Ask yourself these questions and just figure out if this is something you think you would like to do. Because if you can adapt to all this and figure out ways to make it work for you, the railroad can be a very rewarding career for your family. It can provide opportunities, healthcare, things like that. But this is just one of those things that if you're not into it, you're not going to get the most out of it. and then most likely you're just going to end up quitting and going on down the road. So guys, leave your thoughts and comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for tuning in for another video. You guys have a good one. See you around.